and welcome to Sound Heal Podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Brown, and thank you so much for joining me as we continue to explore the fields of sound healing, sound therapy, and generally the use of sound for health and wellness. Today, we're joined by two wonderful guests from the Sound Healing Academy, Gareth Laffely and Laura Turian. Gareth is a sound healing practitioner and recording artist whose Native American heritage and love of music have guided his path in both healing and teaching. He also serves as head of marketing at the Academy. Laura, who has Romanian roots, is a digital marketing specialist with the Academy and also a healer through her own practice, The Journey to Higher Self. She blends sound, energy healing, and intuition to support transformation. In this podcast, we explore their unique journeys into sound healing, the influence of culture and storytelling in their work, and how they communicate the value of sound healing to a global audience. They also share lots of great ideas for marketing a sound healing or wellness business in ways that are authentic, creative, and heart-led. I think you'll find this episode both inspiring and practical. So let's dive in. Well, I want to welcome in Gareth and Laura. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us, Natalie. This is exciting.
Thank you.
Great to have you both. And let's start. I would just like to let everybody know about your background a little bit. And if you could each share a bit about your journey into sound healing, holistic arts, and just that progression for you. So, Gareth, I'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, music has always been a part of my life ever since I was really little. I started playing drums when I was 4 years old, and that progressed on to studying classical music and kind of doing some singing and songwriting and things like that. But, it was really not until I discovered the Native American style flute that I really understood what music was. And, I come from a Native American background. I'm Mi'kmaq and Cree on my father's side. And so, native music, native culture has always been a part of my life. And I started playing my flutes in hospitals and nursing homes as a hospice volunteer. And just seeing the amazing reactions that people had to sound in that type of a setting, where music could reach people where doctors and nurses couldn't. And it could bring comfort to anyone, no matter what background they came from, no matter what language they spoke. Everybody seemed to resonate with sound. And that just led me to dive deeper into what sound healing really means. And I got involved with the Sound Healing Academy, taking a course on drumming just to kind of get my feet wet a little bit into that. And I wasn't really sure how much I believed in sound healing, honestly, at that point. And then I did a meditation exercise and I actually fell asleep while I was playing the drum. And I woke up 20 minutes later and I was still playing the drum and felt like I had had the best night's sleep of best night's sleep of my life. And so I just thought, there's really something to this, and started learning more, diving into instruments. I have a friend of mine who's a refugee from Tibet. So I got some bowls from him and had a chance to learn a little bit there as well. And ever since I dived into this amazing world of sound healing, I haven't looked back, and it just continues to evolve and grow deeper for me.
Awesome. Wonderful progression for you. Yeah, Laura, how about you?
Yeah, so for me, sound healing has been actually a stepping stone on a path full of stones in terms of healing. So I've done my Reiki training first, which led me to my crystal healing, which led me to sound healing. So I think my level one training with the academy was around 5 years ago when I fell in love with sound. I never heard about sound healing before. I was on a rainy day in my apartment scrolling on Instagram and I saw an ad with courses from the Sound Healing Academy. So I was like, this looks interesting. So yeah, I did my course. It was more for myself because I have a chronic heart condition since I was a child. So I've always been on the lookout for ways that I can improve my life and, just make myself feel a little bit less horrible every day. And medicine has not been something that I've always wanted to apply in my situation. So I always wanted alternative medicine as a solution to my problems. So yeah, I found sound healing. I fell in love with it, did my level one. And then after I did my level one, I had this a massive it was a massive spiritual awakening, which really made me question my life and my job and my relationships and everything. The reason why I quit my job, which was lovely. I was doing digital marketing back then in an agency, but I just felt like I wanted to do more. Um, and this is when I got an email a few weeks later from the academy. They were looking for someone in digital marketing. So I was like, this is crazy. This is actually my dream coming true. And that led me to do my level 2 because I was thinking I could actually help people with sound healing. And I did my level 2 one-to-one in Birmingham, and it was just amazing. I fell in love with the instruments, with the feeling, first of all, of being able to help myself, but also helping other people. And since then, I've been practicing one-to-one sound healing. I'm still currently in my training, but I'm doing a lot of sound healing for myself and for my family and friends. And I'm so excited to finish my diploma this year and then actually start, having a nice little sound healing business for myself on the side that I can incorporate with my Reiki, with my crystal healing, with my energetic alternative practices that I do currently. So, yeah, what it started out as a self-help method, it continues to be a central way that calms my heart and helps me, especially since I had my heart surgery 2 years ago. But it's also an amazing way that I can actually do something good for the world, which is why I'm really here for it every day.
That's beautifully said. Yeah, it's just so wonderful to hear how people come to this work, right? We all come from different places. And with both of your heritage, right? So Gareth, you mentioned your Native American roots, and Laura, I understand your Romanian roots. How
Yeah.
have your backgrounds, do you think your cultural backgrounds shaped your approach to healing or music or how you hold space for others? Laura, I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. So, since I was a little girl, I've been raised with the knowledge that Romanian culture has roots Romanian culture is deeply rooted in music and nature and celebrating communities and rituals into everyday life. So, I remember since I was a child, generations back, like my grandparents, grandparents, they used to love bringing all, people together where they would gather, they would sing, they would dance to celebrate or to heal. And I learned since I was a little girl that sound is not just entertainment, it's actually a form of connection and medicine. And in Romanian traditions, from what I remember from my grandparents, there is a deep respect for nature, something that I felt since I was a kid, but never could actually explain what it is. I just loved nature. I loved music. I just love that sound can create a space where everyone feels safe and included. So at all my gatherings, we used to play music, traditional Romanian music back then, not popular music, and it was all with instruments, and it was just so beautiful. And I never actually knew what sound healing is, but it was healing already, even as a kid. So that's definitely something that I took from that, and I'm carrying into my work every day now. So when I facilitate sound healing, even if it's just for myself, I try to bring the same warmth and sense of belonging that I used to feel when I was a kid in my family gatherings when we used to play music or sing, especially around Easter and Christmas when my family used to just gather themselves in a big choir and just sing amazing songs, and I would just pretend that I know the lyrics, but at least I would feel the love and the healing space. So this is definitely something that I try to do every day to make people feel seen, heard, and held just as they are. Because I think sound is definitely a way to do that effortlessly and in a way that everyone can actually enjoy.
Yeah, it's so amazing to have that kind of sense of community and gathering and identity through music. It's just a beautiful way to connect and carry on traditions. Yeah. How about you, Gareth?
Yeah, I kind of, I have a very similar kind of like background when it comes to all that, very similar to Laura as well, is, music is something that connects people. I've been to many different Native American powwows and gatherings where, there's from the drummers sitting around the drum doing traditional songs to people playing flutes or hand drums. Music is such a part of culture, but it's also deeper than that. It's storytelling. It's that common thread. It helps you really not just keep physical stories alive, but when you sing, when you play instruments, you feel the emotion too. It's like music allows you to feel what people have felt for thousands of years and to have that not just be their experience, something you read in a history book, but when you're singing it, when you're playing those instruments, it becomes part of you as well. So you can feel that strength from your ancestors coming through everything that you do today. And I think that's been a big part of, looking at everything from my heritage is like feeling connected, not just to my own roots, but to other people around the world, other tribal cultures. There's so many similarities with the drumming and the music to really connect us and remind us how unified that we are. So I think music gives us a voice. It's a great way to carry on traditions and also to create new traditions as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and for the listeners as well to consider how they could use perhaps their own roots in their sound healing and also in for marketing purposes. How do you weave your story into work, and how do you communicate with your audience through storytelling?
Yeah, that's a great question, Natalie. And I think, it's different for everybody, but I think what you can look at is kind of two different levels with that. And number one is you're always going to perform better doing what you love and what you know. So if there's something that's really powerful and connected with you, it's like I play a lot of different sound healing instruments. I'll play Tibetan bowls, I play different drums and the sansula, just all these different things, right? But for me, there's nothing more powerful than the flute and the drum. And that's why that's kind of what I tend to go to a little bit more. And that's a little bit more of what my niche is in the sound healing world is I can do things with the flute that no one else does because the flute is so important to my life and I've invested a lot more time in that. So I think, number one, like I said, you're going to find that you do better with what you love and what you know. And then the second thing is, how do you use that passion that you have for telling your own story to communicate that with other people? And I think what it is being approachable and meeting people where they are and allowing people to know what your story is. They want to know what you have learned, where you come from. And I feel like that helps you connect with people, whether that's clients, whether that's customers, people that you're going to be doing actual work with, or people trying to come to a workshop, things like that. It's all about allowing them to see who you are and then discovering what they can do to evolve who they are as well in that process where you're working towards a joint healing outcome together. Whether, especially, I think, if you're working one on one with a client, it helps you to be vulnerable, to share your story with them. And then that lets them know they're safe to do the same thing. So it can work on an individual level with clients, but it can also work as you're growing your business as well.
Right. I mean, it's a big part of just expressing your authentic self, right? And so finding what that means, your passion, or whether it's through your roots, will lead you to what you're really supposed to do on this path, but also it'll help others see that and journey through that as well. Laura, any other thoughts on that? Just kind of the storytelling aspect and how to weave that into our work.
Yeah, I think I'm very much on the same frequency with Gareth here, in regards that storytelling is the thread that connects everything we do, in life in general, and also as, sound healing practitioners or alternative healing practitioners in general, if we have our business or, if we're just doing it for ourselves. Personally, what I can say from my own experience is that when I do sound healing for myself, friends, or family, and can't wait to do it for clients as well, what I really focus is to create a beginning that invites them in, and then I continue with like a middle where transformation really begins, and then an ending that gently returns them to themselves. But in this whole time, it's really beautiful for me that sound is the only thing that you need. You don't actually need to speak much because the sound speaks for you. Um, and I see that in marketing as well, and not marketing in general, but marketing your own business and being successful in anything you do really is to put that heart and that gentle space and silence in everything that you put out there, online, and not talk just about what you do, but why it matters. I think that's one of the main things I've been taking from my work for the last 6, 7 years since I've been doing alternative healing. People want to know why sound healing matters, not why what you do. It's more like how are they going to feel after coming out of the sound healing session with you, because story, like Gareth said, has a very big and unique way of opening people's hearts. And that's whether it's spoken, sung, or played with beautiful instruments. I love the drum, just like Gareth. I love the drum. And a very interesting thing for me is, side note, it's crystal singing bowls are one of my biggest surprises in terms of sound healing. I remember when I did my level 1 training, the frequency of the crystals were so strong for me that I actually had to get up and leave. My body couldn't take it. It was just so much releasing going on, even though there was a, resonant interval being played with beautiful sounds and it was meant to relax. For me, it was very releasing. So It was a lot of storytelling behind that for me to actually share with my teacher. There was a lot of trauma involved, and crystal singing bowls, definitely the frequency was what I really needed to really do the deep work. And very interestingly, I actually said that story in my course, in my workshop in person 4 or 5 years ago, and one of the girls started crying there, and she really resonated with me because she had a chronic condition, but different way, and it was just amazing. So yeah, definitely storytelling plays a very big part in everything we do, especially sound, and when you want to connect with a client or even with yourself. Sometimes it's nice to take some time off and just even speak to yourself, like, how are you feeling today? What am I feeling today? It's just, yeah, it's a very big part of everything for me.
Right, and our responses to the instruments can vary so much. I think it's important to share that, because as a beginner coming into this work, you probably have ideas or expectations about the instruments, but it can be so surprising, both what you gravitate towards as well as those you react to and what your reactions are. So it's just so fascinating to hear feedback from people because you just never know what to expect, right? It's just such a different experience for everybody. So we all have something in common. We've all done training with the Academy, and we all are colleagues at the Sound Healing Academy. And so let's talk about your work for the Academy and what led each of you to work for the Sound Healing Academy. Laura, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so for me, I've always had this nudge that I'm meant for greatness. I don't know how to explain, but I've always felt this, as a little Aquarius little girl, I've always been very empathic and very caring for nature and for other people. And I've always wanted to do something to help the planet heal because there's so much pain and, dark days around these times that we live in. So, a little bit of healing here and there, that's what always made me feel fulfilled. So, what led me to work for the academy was definitely the training that I had, first of all, which introduced me to the world of sound healing, one of the many practices that I love doing. And then, taking the decision, a little bit crazy, typically me, but just quitting my job and being like, okay, we're doing this. And then I think it was such a heart-based intention that the universe listened because it knew that I have such a genuine want to help people that, when I received that email with them looking for someone for digital marketing, and I had the interview, and I was just my authentic self saying, that I really want to help people because sound has helped me so much with my problem and everything. So yeah, it was just a feeling. It was a full body yes. I have this thing that applies even when I want to pick what I want to eat for dinner. If it's not a full body yes, it's not for me. So I just need to feel it in every single part of my body and my bones and my heart. And it's what I felt with the academy when I joined. So I've been here for 4 years almost now, and I just loved every single day. I've learned so much, so much. And I do have to say, I love crystal singing bowls now, which is weird. I really love crystal singing bowls so much. They're actually one of my favorite instruments because I got to actually take my time and get my whole set, my whole chakra set, and sit there, feel my crystal singing bowls, connect with the frequency. And yeah, I think that allowed me a lot, to be part of such an amazing team and, write loads about, sound healing and how sound healing can help us. And just being a part of this community is probably what really gets me up from my bed in the morning. It just makes me feel very happy that I can actually use my digital marketing skills, which is one of my other passions, more like earthly, more grounded, I would say. I love digital marketing, and after doing my master's, I was thinking, how can I apply my skills for a good purpose that makes me fulfilled every day? So being able to intertwine my digital marketing background and my studies and my master's with my passion and my love for healing, especially sound healing, it's just amazing. I definitely see myself in a nursing house when I'm 80 still working for the academy in one way or the other. So yeah, it's definitely it for me.
Yeah, and who knows what both sound healing and digital marketing will look like when we're that age, right? Can you just, what is your position exactly? What does that entail? What all are you doing?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm a digital marketing specialist, I would say. So I'm working very closely with Gareth, and we're doing all the social media content, the blog, website content, SEO, copywriting, so pretty much everything. And it's amazing. We love it. It's a very fast-changing industry, but I think because we're working for the Sound Healing Academy and we're trying to help people learn sound healing to help themselves and others, it just makes everything feel like more a passion than a work for us. And you know, the fact that we're so amazing together, working together is just, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think that the fast-paced field can really go towards sound healing and marketing, just how things are blossoming and changing so quickly. So thank you for expressing all that you do. Yeah, Gareth, what you led you to your work with the Academy, and what is your role exactly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of Laura and I, it's funny how aligned we are with our stories for coming to the academy. Also because we both applied at the exact same time to the exact same email, and originally it was supposed to be one position, but when our boss at the time, Grania, met with us, she decided, well, let's split up the position, and she wanted to have both Laura and I come on board. So right from the start, it's been an amazing opportunity to work with some amazing people and just to get to know everybody's backgrounds and how they are impacted by sound. For me, I didn't expect to get involved with the academy in this way at all. What led me to the academy is I wanted to get a professional certification in sound healing. I've seen a lot of other courses out there where, it's a very quick certification. You just watch a couple videos, you get a diploma. But I really just like Laura, I also have a master's degree in marketing, and I really value, the science behind things and really diving into why things are effective, how you can practice it safely because sounds can heal, but they can also hurt. So it's important to know what you're doing. So I went to the Sound Healing Academy, just again, not really expecting much, just doing that one drumming course, but then seeing how much it helped me. I studied for a year, I became a practitioner. I used it to help myself get rid of vertigo. I helped my dad with carpal tunnel. I've helped a lot of people with their own personal issues. And I think that that really translated to help me step into this role as the head of marketing. Is I understand the stories because that was my story. And the reason why I'm so passionate about what I do is the sound has made such an impact in my own life that I want other people to have that transformation too. So it's both Laura and I, it's like, how do we channel our technical training to share that story to make a positive difference in the community? I've been very blessed through the academy as well to be able to create a Native American flute course. So it's like sharing the native story, sharing the story of the flutes and things like that. So that's been really powerful for me, and it's funny because I actually said I didn't think I could work for the academy because I didn't have time. I was working a full-time job already when I got the email, and my mom actually pushed me to do it. She's like, no, this is so aligned with what you're doing, you should definitely do it. So I didn't know what would happen. I submitted an application and started working part-time, and then ended up transitioning into full-time and leaving my other job for this. And it's been amazing ever since, so glad.
Yeah, we're glad too that both of you are on board. It's meant to be, right? Just by what both of you expressed, it's just like everything's led you to this. And from your experience, I think this kind of next section we're getting into will be really helpful to anybody listening. What are some of the most effective, aligned ways to communicate the value of sound healing to a global audience? How have you tried to do that through the Academy?
Yeah, it's again, that's a great question, Natalie. And it's not like a certain approach will work for everyone, but what we have found is, whether it's sound healing or sound healing training, that can be promoted a little bit differently, but the way that we look at it is it's holistic healing. It's not just something where, it's just a spiritual level or it's just something you do to your physical body. It combines everything. It's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, and it allows you to be able to identify areas in your own life where you have imbalances and you have areas that you need to grow in, and then to be able to use sound to fill that void, whether that's discovering voids you didn't know were there, or that's, stepping into this new place of complete and total wellness. So I think if you have a sound healing practice and you're looking at communicating the value of that to other people, I think it comes down to the life change, and whether that's sharing testimonials, that's something we do a lot. Is really happy in my position. I get a chance to talk with all of our online students and collect the video testimonials, and seeing that life change that people have is just incredible. So I think if you can communicate first your own story and how sound has helped you, and then how sound has helped the people around you, getting even, 4 or 5 really good testimonials from clients, having that there that you can share, and then also being just very intentional in how you detail what your approach is. List the instruments that you work with, talk about your experience, talk about your certifications, and have that credibility to back it up. And if somebody can go into a session with you or a sound bath and they already have some of that trust established because they know your story and they know your credentials, that really goes a long way. And that's what we really help people do at the Academy is know what your strengths are, feel equipped, and then also be backed by a professional organization so that anyone that comes to a sound bath or a workshop, they know that they can count on a certain quality.
Yeah, I do. I agree that I think testimonials, referrals can go a long way, right? You can talk as possible about the benefits of sound healing and this work, but if you have people that you've worked with actually expressing that word of mouth can go a long way, right? And sometimes overwhelming, marketing can be overwhelming, right? But just getting that referral, that testimonial is actually sharing your work and the benefits of your work. Yeah, Laura, any other ideas on some effective ways to communicate the value of sound healing?
Yeah, I think again, I'm very much on the same page with Gareth. One of the most effective ways that we found is to speak to both the heart and the mind, I think. That's what we're trying to do every day, really, in our marketing and approach. Because from my perspective, for a global audience, it means that we are trying to share real human stories here, how sound healing has helped people either to reduce stress, find emotional balance, or even reconnect with themselves, because we do live in a crazy world, alongside with the growing body of research that validate its benefits. So this is definitely what we're trying to put together, the human story with the research and the professional training that we offer. So I think it's also about meeting people where they are culturally. Just because, that goes back to the question that you had, Natalie, about my Romanian roots and Garrett's. And, it's very important to make it very clear that sound is a universal language, and that it is connected to people's beliefs, tradition, and values, and that it is something that can connect all of us regardless of where we come from. And I believe that, me, Gareth, and the rest of our amazing team, what we try to do is to create content that is both accessible, inclusive, but also, visually immersive, so then people can actually feel the beauty of the work even before they experience it. And we do that through the testimonials, the visual content that we do, the written articles, our newsletters, everything. And most important, we try, and I think we're doing a great job of being very authentic. Rather than making, big promises, we actually invite people into a journey of exploration with healing sounds. Just simply showing them that sound healing is not just a service or a course that we offer and it's a one-time fix and you're good. It's more of a journey of transformation where people can actually carry healing sounds into their daily lives. And we're doing a great job so far. And we're enjoying it at the same time, which is probably what makes us stand apart from the crowd, I guess.
Yeah, actually enjoying it may be the most important thing, right? Um, well, so I think we've actually mentioned some great ideas already with exploring roots and authentic expression and testimonials. But I definitely know some of my students at the level 2 level, they're just about to get their diploma and launch their business. Marketing, I think actually marketing a well-being business in general for some people can be difficult,
Yeah.
because it's a service to others. And then for some practitioners, just putting themselves out there can feel scary. So I just wonder any advice for people to grow their presence, to grow their marketing while staying authentic, right? They're not trying to push and do sales. How do they stay authentic and real while still marketing? What do you think, Laura?
I think I remember a really good saying that one of my favorite teachers during my digital marketing courses in uni used to say is that marketing is not becoming someone that you're not just to sell something. It's actually amplifying who you already are. And I actually didn't understand the moment. I was like, what is it talking about? But it sounded great, but I didn't actually understand until I've put it into practice. So I think the heart of your work as a sound healer and alternative healing practitioner is connection, and marketing is simply just another way to create that connection. So instead of thinking, oh, I have to promote myself, I like to think I get to share something that might help someone today. And that just puts me in a different, energy straight from the get-go. So I would recommend probably to start small and choose platforms or formats that feel natural to you, whether that's speaking on video or writing blogs or sharing photos of your practice. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to have a podcast and a YouTube and an Instagram and a blog. You can start small and see what you like. There's a lot of people that like more visual content to create and to enjoy, or more written. So it's all about finding your groove and finding your flow, but also, enjoying whilst you're doing it. Consistency is definitely more important than perfection. That's what we're trying to do at the academy as well. Being consistent, put your heart into your work, leading with your story. That brings us back to the storytelling, to your values, and the transformation that you can offer. Um, because what we found is, when presence is built on trust and care, genuine heart care, then it not only attracts the right people, but it sustains your energy as the person doing the healing and also marketing yourself, because that is quite difficult to be a ninja and everything. That will keep you going, doing what you love without burning out. Because life is difficult as it is, especially as a self-employed alternative healer. We tend to be extremely caring, extremely empathic, and all we want to do is the right thing. But sometimes we just need to remember that maybe just being ourselves is enough, and starting small and enjoying what we do, and that it's never wrong to ask for help when you need it as well. And being part of communities online is a very big thing, where you can learn from other people what are they doing online, just getting inspiration and looking for ways to always not become someone else, but just amplify who you already are deep within, and just enjoy it every day.
There's a couple practical steps that you can take that I'll get into in a second, but I think one of the important things to touch on is you don't have to know everything. And I feel like you're coming into a business, you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to learn how to do marketing, content creation. There's so much that you need to do, but you can hire experts to help you as well. It doesn't have to be anything super expensive. A resource that I highly recommend if you don't know how to do digital marketing is there's a website called Fiverr here in the US, and you can go and you can find freelance people that work for $20 an hour, $50 an hour. They can do a couple hours a week to help you out, especially where you're getting started. So identify the areas that you need help in, and then use someone else to fill that gap where you can. And it's not really that much of an investment. Just applying this to myself. So I understand storytelling, I understand marketing, things like that. When it comes to the back end of a website and understanding SEO, Laura is way better at that than I am. I have no idea. So I've had to really lean on her for that process. And then we also brought in an expert to work with us to just help identify certain things and help us to know what questions should we even be asking. There's certain things like that. So don't feel like you have to know everything. Consistency is key. So if you can only do 2 posts a week on social media, do 2 posts a week and do them really well. The other thing is if you're going to be filming content, filming for yourself, it's amazing what you can do with an iPhone today. If you have an older iPhone, for my content creation, I use an iPhone 13 Pro Max. So it's a little bit bigger. It's easier to do the film settings on it. And I think you can get those now for under $1,000. And that with a tripod and a lapel mic, you're talking less than $1,000 to create really high quality content. So it's finding what investments you want to make, what equipment you already have, and how you can best use that. Now, as you're looking at expanding a business, you can definitely do that online. You can definitely do social media ads. I highly recommend doing Facebook ads for sound healing. It's easier to get connected with people through doing those types of ads, especially doing location based in your community. Um, but really, a lot of your initial success, I believe, is going to come from networking with people in person in your community. So if there are a few local yoga studios, be humble. Go over and say, hey, I would love to donate 2 hour sound bath, or I'd love to play some instruments for you while you do one of your yoga classes. Have some business cards ready so you can pass those out with people. And if there's local, I don't know, local fairs or farmers markets or things like that, even investing in a little bit of a vendor space where people can come up, they can try tapping a few bowls. You can maybe do a quick 5 minute session or just something to showcase your unique story and abilities. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but it's like what we found is as soon as people get a taste of sound healing, they take a course or they buy an instrument and really start to experience that for themselves. It's such a snowball effect. People just want more. So I think if you can give people in your community that initial taste and then get, it doesn't take as many clients as you think to be able to be successful. If you get 5, 6, 7 regular clients that are coming to you every single week or every 2 weeks, that's a business right there. I had someone in the music industry tell me I think it was 10,000 fans is all you need to be able to make it a full-time career. If you have 10,000 people that will go out and buy your CD every single time you release it. If you have 10,000 people that'll show up at every concert you do, then you can have a full-time career in that industry. So you're not having to shoot for the millions. You're not having to shoot for, all these crazy amounts of followers. What you're doing is you're building an authentic community around you that's going to be invested in you and your story. And then that's just going to evolve and continue to ripple.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. What I call boots on the ground in your community. For me, my first year doing that, I'm so glad I did that. It was a lot of free work, free events. I did introduction to sound healing workshops where it was about a half an hour talk and a half an hour sound bath. And looking back on it, those connections I made in that first year, I'm still, connected with them 10 years later, or they became students or people that brought me into special events. So it really is worth your while making those connections early on. And then you'll not have to, I would say, work as hard, the more that you get going at things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. So, looking ahead, we said this is really kind of a fast-paced market. What's exciting or emerging in the field of sound healing or even in conscious marketing? And how do you see this work evolving over the next few years? Gareth, I'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's it's kind of a catch-22 because some of the tools that are amazing are also tools that can hurt us. For example, AI is definitely going to continue to play a larger part in the wellness industry. It's taking away jobs because you can just automatically create whatever sounds you want and things like that. However, I see people that completely avoid using tools like AI tools, and I think that that's also a mistake. What I do that is, I think, a healthy way to look at AI and some of these new technologies is I use ChatGPT as an assistant. And the way that I look at it is if I need somebody to proof my work, or if I have like 5 ideas that I'm brainstorming and I'm just like, I need 3 more. What are some different topics that I can do? And if you use it as a tool, again, it's resourcing and it's filling in that gap and seeing what tools will work for you. Um, I have seen evidence of people that use ChatGPT and AI way too much. And if you look at brain scans of people that use ChatGPT all the time versus people that don't, let's just say it's not healthy to rely on tools like that moving forward. But, as technology evolves, feel free to experiment with that and how it can help you in your business. Sound healing itself and the wellness industry, we're seeing a push away from traditional medicine and we're seeing people looking for something more. And what is amazing about sound healing as a tool is you can take it with you anywhere. You can do it whenever you need to. You can keep it by your bed. You can end your day with sound. You don't need a prescription. And, as long as you do have basic training, you can start using sounds very quickly. Even in the sound healing training that we offer at the academy, there are practice exercises after just like a week or two where you can start using these instruments for yourself. And then what's beneficial is if you do decide to go through and do our practitioner training, is we teach you how to build up a list of case studies. So you're actually working with people doing hands-on work so that when you graduate, you already have a client list of regular customers that will be coming to you, which is very helpful. But I think, back to your question as far as how it's evolving, I think keeping up with technology is important, keeping up with all the different marketing trends, what people are doing in the wellness industry. Um, but it's also looking a little bit deeper into what is the overall need that people are feeling. Like for example, when COVID hit, it was really earth-shaking with how much work could be done remotely. And there's so many people now that are working from home and people that are less reliant on, having to be in person for different things. So I think that also opens the door for you don't have to physically do sound healing just in your community. If you want to do, sound baths online, if you want to do different things like that, there's really a lot of opportunities for growth and evolving it to be whatever you want it to be. So I think the most important thing is get the training, get the background so that you know exactly what you're doing with confidence. And then really just evaluate, where do I want to take this? What do I want to do? And whether that's having a full-time career, just doing sound healing, traveling around the world. I know people that do that. They just do sound healing and travel all over the world and have an amazing life. And then there's other people where you're working a full-time job and you need something for stress relief and you want to help a couple people along the way. And I think it's just, as the market evolves, just looking at what are the needs in each individual community and then how can you use the new tools that are coming out to be able to apply that.
Great. Thanks, Gareth. Yeah, Laura, what do you think is exciting or emerging in sound healing and alongside of the marketing aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think as the years went by, especially since COVID, we're at such an exciting point for both sound healing and conscious marketing. It's definitely evolving into something more than it used to be back when, back in 2010, 2015. It's definitely massively different. I think mainly in sound healing, I see a growing recognition of its value, and not just in the wellness space. It's become very popular and very big in mainstream healthcare, in corporate environments, especially corporate in the last 3 years. I would say it's really mind-blowing and very interesting to see, and education as well. So I think that's mainly because people are becoming more and more, interested in blending Asian practices with the modern science. And like Gary said, technology is here to help us share these experiences globally, from live streamed sound baths to immersive online courses like we have. On the other side of, conscious marketing, I think definitely there's a very big shift from hard selling through deeper storytelling. Everything goes back to storytelling. Yeah, love it. Yeah, it goes back to deeper storytelling and, authenticity and community building. So I think what people are craving the most is connection and meaning, feeling like they're part of something. And I think they respond to brands and stories that lead with their heart, with their values, and being transparent. Um, so I think over the next few years, these two fields, sound healing and, conscious heart-led marketing, will continue to intersect more and more as the days go by, with sound healing practitioners using, marketing and digital marketing, not just to sell their services or themselves, basically selling to a sales tool, but as a way to inspire and educate, and invite people into a shared journey, of healing and transformation, which can happen, like Gary said, from your living room, or if you want to make it into a, whole full-time career, or if you want to just apply it to your friends and family. Whatever you decide to do, I think it's going to play a very big part, and it already is a very big part of life in general. I was actually in, this is again brackets as usual. I love brackets. I was in the bus and I was listening to a really amazing song from Ramadas, and it was like a heartbeat drum kind of frequency vibe. And they were so loud, and I was in a massive trance. I was so happy, like a little dog in the summer on the beach. And there was a girl next to me, and she was like, "What are you listening to?" And I was like, it's a frame drum. Frame drum. And I was like, "Yeah, do you want to listen?" And we were just listening together, and we exchanged Instagrams, and I sent her a couple of links about sound healing, and she's very interested, and she's very happy that she found it, and she's listening to, like, frequency music on YouTube and stuff like that. So um yeah, I think sound healing is a very big part, and more people are more interested in becoming practitioners, which is amazing. That's what we always try to encourage people, because it's just beautiful for yourself first, but to be able to share it is just a different level.
And people are coming across it in so many ways now. I mean, it's not a rare thing to talk about like it might have been 5, 10 years ago, right? And I
Mhm.
love also what you both said. I mean, it's Really cool how, we're talking about an ancient art and something that can be just so one-on-one or, acoustic instruments or nature. And then we're also talking about technology and AI and trying to keep up with all this. So it's just this amazing balance as well as just open possibilities. It's just so limitless how we can all come into this, and as long as we're staying authentic and leading from the heart. So that's just a great way to kind of bring everything together that we've talked about. Is there anything, now that we're kind of wrapping up, anything you want to leave us with, whether it's tool, advice, something you want to share that's coming up? I'll just kind of open it up if there's anything else you'd like to share.
Oh, mine is gonna be a little bit silly because it's, I think what I mentioned in the beginning is, when you're interested in following a path of healing, healing is, multidimensional. It does not matter on time or, space. It is just in universal language, I think. And that when I mentioned the whole body, yes, it's something that I've genuinely put in practice. That's been told to me by one of my very dear healers from Dublin. She told me, Laura, from now on, you will have to listen to your body. What does your heart say? That it was the same with sound healing. When I wanted to do the course, my heart was like, yes, my body was yes, my mind was yes, my energy was yes. I think when you want to do something, especially when it comes to healing for yourself or others, just wait and see what your body's intelligence and deep wisdom says. If it's a full body, yes, it's for you. And always just to be authentic and to try to find that thing in life that makes you happy that you get to do it every day. Because I think that's the best way to actually get to your real self, your heart, your center, and then that's where you're able to flourish and share with others.
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. I think the benefit of the training that I went through with the academy is when you have a structured approach to how you step into a sound healing session, that definitely helps. And it's something that you can fall back on. I really recommend that anyone that is interested in sound healing, whether it's just for yourself or if you want to grow it into a business, of course, I recommend the Sound Healing Academy, not just because I worked there, but that's where I did my training and it was so impactful for me. But it's important that whatever training you have, really just allow yourself to take in that information because, as I said before, sounds can heal and sounds can hurt. It is a very powerful art. Um, so just making sure that you learn how to do it the right way is really important. And then, it's okay to take that investment in yourself. There's a lot of people that I see, it's like you're on the fence, you're not sure, should I really be spending the money to do this? And I know for me, um, I was in a really rough place in my life when I started studying sound healing. I had absolutely no money. I couldn't even afford to do the course. And I randomly got a check in the mail from some relative that I hadn't heard from in 10 years and just said, "Hey, I just feel like I want to support your music right now. Here's some money." And it was the exact amount that I needed for the course. And so I think if it's right for you, the funds will come in. Um, don't overpay on your instruments. You don't need to, but it's also important that if you are starting out, make sure you have quality gear because I've learned that from years working in music is if you're playing a guitar and you don't like playing your guitar because the action's too tight on your fingers or it sounds kind of tinny, you're not going to play it and you're not going to love it. So if you can get hands-on with instruments, that's always amazing. But find something that really speaks to you. I went through, before I bought my first Tibetan bowl, I probably looked at 50 bowls, and I had a friend of mine that had a huge collection, and he was going to let me have one of those. And he showed me so many different bowls, and I kept coming back to this one because it just spoke to me. So,
Yeah.
having that quality gear, having that quality training, yes, it's an initial investment, but I think it's really worth it because you're going to feel, number one, confident. And then, second of all, you're going to feel joy when you're picking up your instruments. So, that's just speaking from my personal experience. I will warn you though, as all of us in this world know, once you start buying instruments, it will take over your whole house. So you need to buy a second house for your instrument.
Yeah. So true. We all can resonate with that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's also great advice, and get to know your instruments, spend that time. It's an investment. The training will help you get to know your instruments and yourself, right? Though really, it speaks to the responsibility of this work. And we can all speak to the integrity of the Sound Healing Academy. But whatever the training is, you know, if it has that framework to help you be very intentional, it'll just take you a long way and transform your life, as we can all attest to. Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for your time, for your amazing work at the Academy, and for bringing your heart to this field. I appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you
for
so
having
much,
us,
Natalie.
Natalie. Yeah, and thank you for giving a voice to this as well. It's amazing to see the work that you do and just help get more people connected because that's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sounds Heal Podcast. You can keep up to date with what's coming up next at soundshealstudio.com, on the YouTube channel, Sounds Heal Studio, for the podcast and new music, on Instagram at Natalie Brown Sounds Heal, and Facebook at Sounds Heal Studio. Be well and stay tuned.